Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the show. I am Jeff Waldorf, and you are listening and watching Logically Left, where it just makes sense, obviously, being on the left end of the political spectrum. Um, so, some of the stories that I'm going to be talking about today, I mean, all the stories are fairly important. Some of them, very, very just, you know, showing just how disastrous the status quo is, the Trump administration. And so, for example, we have Joni Ernst that I'm going to be talking about today. We also have new government employees that are being forced to, if they want a job with the government, forced to kiss Donald Trump's ass. Maybe, okay, yes, in a figurative sense, but perhaps soon it will be a literal sense, perhaps. So yeah, pucker up on that one. And then, of course, we have more. Let's just say that we have more dysfunction going on. The merit based hiring system of the Trump administration not exactly turning out to hire the best and the brightest. So yeah, there's that. And then, of course, we have an undocumented immigrant who was a victim of a robbery. Apparently, the person who perpetrated, allegedly, this robbery, this crime against an undocumented immigrant, tried to then get him deported. So, I mean, that's an insane story. Just absolutely, and again, one that probably wouldn't happen if we had a normal country. So, I mean, it's just insanity all around. So, but that's what some of the stories I'm going to be talking about here. We do have another story of a Trump administration official that has some really close ties to Putin. So there's also that. Yeah, you gotta love that. You gotta love that. All right, so unsurprising. That said, we're going to be talking about those things. But before I dive into the details on all of that, I want to thank you all for watching. Please like and share the stream. Helps it get out to everybody. I also want to thank a new patron, Tracy Ava. Thank you for joining, for becoming a supporter of independent progressive media. I really appreciate when people sign up. So thank you for supporting the show. With that said, I guess we will start out and get into it. So, yeah. We'll start out with the GEC. Okay, I don't know if y'all remember that, but I'll give you a bit of a refresher. All right. The controversial Global Engagement Center, known as the GEC, which was created back in 2016 to counter foreign propaganda, specifically from Russia. Now, that program was unsurprisingly shut down in 2024 after the victory of President Donald Trump. Now, the GEC, which had operated with a $61 million budget and a staff of like 120, give or take, it was shut down in December of 2024 when the Republican-led Congress declined to renew funding for it. You know, Republicans were like, oh, we don't need that. We don't need the Ministry of Truth. Okay, all right. Well, again, it was controversial. Okay. Now, that GEC was reorganized as the State Department's Counter Foreign Information and Manipulation and Interference Office. That, too, was apparently shut down in April, following a February announcement by Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who had stated that the office had wasted millions of dollars and engaged in censorship. Other Republicans also claim that the GEC, all it does is sit there and censor conservative opinions. Which ones? Which opinions? Probably ones that are very, very pro-Russian and filled with misinformation. In fact, that's basically what they were going after, is misinformation that could be from a foreign power. And whether or not it's from a foreign power, I mean, misinformation is misinformation, right? And so, yes, a lot of so-called conservative opinions were, I guess, censored or shut down or whatever because they were just factually incorrect, all right? So, look, again, misinformation, though, and pro-Russian, sentiments online appear to go hand in hand with conservatism, currently, at least, because they tend to post more things that are not based in reality and do come from these bot and troll farms. Okay, and it's just not just me just saying this, right? No, this is backed up by evidence, by studies, things that, of course, Republicans will completely ignore. In fact, according to researchers from Oxford, MIT, Yale, and Cornell, conservatives are, for one, they're not being censored for their opinions, right? Because it's like, what opinion would you be censored for? I believe taxes should be lower on rich people and, all that stuff, and we should have less regulation. Well, that doesn't seem like a censorable opinion, now does it? No. Well, which opinions then? Oh, you know the ones. You know the ones. Oh, yes. So, no, it's because they tend to post more stuff that is not true. And that's just a fact. From the study, although users estimated to be pro-Trump / conservative were indeed substantially more likely to be suspended from social media than those estimated to be pro-Biden / liberal, users who were pro-Trump conservative also shared far more links to various sets of low-quality news sites, even when news quality was determined by politically balanced groups of laypeople, or groups of even only Republican laypeople, and had higher estimated likelihoods of being bots. We find similar associations between stated or inferred conservatism and low-quality news sharing on the basis of both expert and politically balanced layperson ratings in 7 other datasets of sharing from Twitter, Facebook, and survey experiments, spanning from 2016 to 2023, and including data from 16 different countries. It's not just in the United States, folks. That's a fake news problem. Thus, even under politically neutral anti-misinformation policies, political asymmetries in enforcement should be expected. Again, basically saying if you are sharing fake news, you're going to get censored or you're going to get suspended, whatever, from social media, and you are more likely to be a conservative because that's just who shares more fake news. All right, well, there you go. Now, political imbalance and enforcement need not imply bias on the part of social media companies implementing anti-misinformation policies. Now, personally, I think that this, attempt to ban people or whatever, or put people on suspension for sharing fake news articles hasn't exactly worked in combating fake news. Right? But that's one of the things that they were trying to do, that they were trying to use, and that was part of what the GEC's mission was, to combat fake news. Okay? Now, the study in Nature that I was reading from also found that conservatives share more fake news and low-quality information, again, even when Republicans define what counts as untrue or low quality, getting back to the results of that. But anyway, there's that. So now here's the thing. Again, in response to Hillary Clinton's election loss in 2016, they created this agency, which again, controversial, right? Their stated purpose was to debunk the fire hose of right-wing fake news that got boosted or even originated from Russian troll and bot farms. Okay? Now, obviously, as I mentioned again, that didn't work, but that's not the reason that it was shut down. Okay? One of the reasons is who Donald Trump put in charge at the State Department, a man named Darren Beattie, who is a senior State Department staffer and a very passionate Putin supporter. Now, his passions also include a Russian woman whose uncle happens to be a longtime Kremlin ally, Yulia Kirilova, who married Beatty back in 2021 in the state of Florida, then moved to D.C. in January. Her uncle, Sergei Chernenko, is a drink magnate and had served in Russia's Ministry of Natural Resources, before becoming governor of Siberia's Nenets region. Chernenko later served in Putin's civic chamber from 2008 to 2010. So I mentioned, of course, that Beatty is a pretty staunch supporter of Vladimir Putin, even more so than I think most conservatives are. In fact, he's been very obviously against supporting the war in Ukraine. In 2022, he wrote, U.S. government is supporting Ukrainian neo-Nazi groups in its obsessive proxy war against Russia. Now, who started that war? Oh, yeah, it would be the Russian government, right? When they launched an invasion. So I don't know how you could, again, argue against that basic reality. The person, or I should say the country, the nation that launched a literal invasion into another country, that is who started it. Okay, that's who started the war part. All right. And I know there were tensions before. Okay. But I'm just saying the actual war part. Okay. And so now, Beatty also wrote this quote, the State Department could sell butt plugs. Ooh, wow. All right.
Sexual anarchy.
And forward the proceeds to fund resistance efforts in Ukraine. Iran-Contra, but with a modern American twist, but yeah, it's actually not like funding the Contras at all. But he also wrote, a big part of American ruling class hatred of Russia is that Russia is a major power that rejects the woke ideology at the core of American regime.
The wokers.
That's right. All about the wokeness, people. It's the woke ideology. And that's why the U.S. Apparently is an enemy of Russia. No, look, one of the reasons that the Biden administration was in opposition to the Russian government has a lot to do with the influence, okay, a sphere of influence that Russia is attempting to create in the region versus the U.S. sphere of influence. It doesn't have anything to do with wokeism, but again, they don't even know what that is. Okay. Now, that said, one of the other reasons that we're defending Ukraine is that we did get them to surrender their nuclear weapons. And in exchange for that surrender, oh, don't worry. If something happens to you, we will come to protect you. Okay. Back then, Ukraine's like, well, I guess that's a fair trade. Yes, okay. So they'll come and protect us. Great. Except that now we're kind of not. Yeah. Anyway, this guy being in this position and shutting down the GEC, yes, that's a conflict of interest. No surprise. No surprise at all. Okay? That's it. That's it. And look, by the way, on top of all of that, Beatty was actually initially fired from the first Trump administration back in 2018. Why? What did he do? Well, he attended a white nationalist conference. Oops. Oh, did you accidentally go to a white nationalist conference?
Whoopsie.
Not accidentally. Not at all. In fact, he posted stuff like this. Quote, competent white men must be in charge if you want things to work. I mean, here we're looking at that situation, and things are not exactly working. Okay. He said, unfortunately, our entire national ideology is predicated on coddling the feelings of women and minorities and demoralizing competent white men. Now, it kind of seems like the opposite. It seems like we're coddling the far right. And again, this is one thing that I have noticed about, let's be honest, like a lot of liberals, okay, are like, let's not upset the right wing. Okay, we know they're babies. Okay, we know that they're going to cry about things if we say something. So let's just keep our heads down. Shut up. I don't want to get into a fight. Okay, yes, that is unfortunately a lot of liberals had been doing that for quite some time, just not wanting to get into a confrontation with the right wing. And of course, there are some who obviously love that confrontation and have no problem with starting it. So, but anyway, yes, you actually absolutely have had that problem with coddling and not upsetting. And this is especially is true of the establishment. Okay. Establishment liberals like, Biden, Obama, Harris, all of them were like, ooh, no, we got to reach out to the right wing. We got to reach out to our Republican friends. We got to stop calling them weird. All right. The fever will break. And we just got to reach out to them and bring them into our tent. And so you far lefties, you stop antagonizing the right wing and stop calling them weird. Okay? No, they are weird. They are weird. And we have a situation in this country where for far too long we have coddled fascists. Need to stop doing that. That'd be great. Start calling them weird. Okay? And not just weird, but calling them for exactly who they are and what they are. Okay. Now, he had also told Tim Scott, who was a Republican, black Republican, Ibram X. Kendi and Kate Cole James to, quote, learn your place and take a knee to MAGA. Okay. And there you go. So here you have a mix of racism, misogyny, and pro-Russian views. Not a surprise combination considering who this administration is and who they work for. Okay? And so no surprise as well that this is the person who also shut down the GEC for good. And again, even if you're on the left, and I know that there were some people who were like, I don't know if this is a good idea, having the government get involved because there are free speech concerns. And I totally get that argument, okay? But at the same time, it's not about discussing the First Amendment and censorship versus not. No, this is a person with very, very pro-Russian ties being put in a position to enact and tear down any opposition to pushing back against these pro-Russian narratives. And so understand that is exactly what is going on right here with this person, with Beatty, and with this administration. So there you go. I think I spent too much time on that, but I really wanted to be clear about it. There you go. I'm the fair leftist who loves scraping with the right. Yes, absolutely. All right, let's move on, though. Speaking of authoritarianism, oh boy. If you are seeking a government job, Trump administration basically tells you, all right, pucker up. Because you know what? It's time for you to kiss my ass. That's right. Maybe not in a literal sense, at least not yet. This is according to a memo from the Office of Personnel Management, which said that anybody seeking a job in the Trump administration is now going to have to write an essay, yes, an essay portion, all right, in support of Donald Trump and his executive orders. Okay, wow. Now, Vince Haley, the White House's head of domestic policy, wrote in a May 29th memorandum that all civil service applicants must answer a series of essays as part of the job recruitment process, including one about how they would help advance Donald Trump's policy priorities. According to the memo, the first government strategy to hire people to the civil service, dubbed the Merit Hiring Plan, will require certain applicants to write four 200-word essays about their work ethic, skills and experience, commitment to the Constitution, and the plans to advance the president's executive orders and policy priorities. So let's just stop there for a second here. You cannot be committed to the Constitution while also advancing Donald Trump's executive orders and policies. In a lot of cases, those things are in direct opposition to each other. For example, his executive order that got rid of birthright citizenship, that is flat out unconstitutional. Now, the essay questions, let me read them verbatim here. One asks, how has your commitment to the Constitution and the founding principles of the United States inspired you to pursue this role within the federal government? Provide a concrete example from professional, academic, or personal experience. Number 2, in this role, how would you use your skills and experience to improve government efficiency and effectiveness? Provide specific examples where you improved processes, reduced costs, or improved outcomes. Okay. 3, how would you help advance the president's executive orders and policy priorities in this role? Identify 1 or 2 relevant executive orders or policy initiatives that are significant to you and explain how you would help implement them if hired. And finally, how has a strong work ethic contributed to your professional, academic, or personal achievements? Provide 1 or 2 specific examples and explain how those qualities would enable you to serve effectively in this position. Now, the plan, as outlined in the memo, would apparently decrease hiring time for new candidates to under 80 days. Wow. Implement a skills-based hiring approach that would reduce the need for unnecessary degree requirements, and the use of DEI in hiring and recruitment, which the memo describes as racial discrimination. Look, y'all already know what DEI is, and let me tell you, it is not that. Okay, we all know this. But this, especially the questionnaire and how you would help advance Donald Trump's priorities, authoritarian shit. Simple as that. They're there basically wanting you to profess loyalty to Donald Trump. This is not civil service anymore. It's not about that. They do not want effective civil servants who are going to work for the greater good. What they want is people who are going to work for the greater good of one man, Donald Trump. That's it. That's really what it's all about. And we knew that this is what it was going to be about, what they were going to do, laid out in Project 2025. That's what they're doing. The thing that they said that they weren't going to do, they're doing it. Shocker. Shocker. Right? Anna Benica, a political scientist at Stanford, wrote in a Substack post about this, saying, quote, a merit-based civil service that took generations to build is being dismantled via memo. Matt Steyer, president of the nonprofit Partnership for Public Service, told Axios about this. They're emptying the shelves of the existing nonpartisan expert civil servants, and they're restocking them with the loyalists. Paul Light, a professor emeritus at public service at New York University, told Politico, quote, I think it's foolish. It's hard enough to get talent these days. Well, you got to understand, though, they don't want talent. They don't want talent. They want yes men. That's what they want. They want people that are going to take orders and not fight against it, even when those orders are unconstitutional. In fact, especially when they're unconstitutional, when they're illegal. They want people who are going to do illegal orders, who are going to follow them in order to advance the illegal goals of this criminal regime. And not just illegal, but of course immoral as well. And that is the whole point. They're stocking the government with people that are loyal to one man, so that that one man can control everything. Okay. And there you go. Speaking of their hiring practices, oh boy. The merit-based hiring system of the Trump administration has struck again, as the new head of FEMA apparently had no idea that hurricane season was, well, a real thing. During a Monday briefing with the staff, acting FEMA Administrator David Richardson reportedly said that he wasn't aware that we even had a hurricane season. What, hurricane season? I thought the seasons were summer, fall, winter, and road construction. Okay, or whatever. That's according to 4 sources familiar with the meeting, as first reported by Reuters. Richardson, who has led FEMA since May, offered no further clarification on the comment, but did confirm during the meeting that he would not be moving forward with a new disaster response plan. Yes, this came despite a May 15th town hall in which he told staff that we're going to have a plan ready by May 23rd. Except that, no, we actually don't have a plan. We're going to completely, avoid coming up with a plan. Oh, crap. You have no plan. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Actually, their plan is you are on your own. As evidenced of what they had already told Arkansas and Missouri, who have dealt with some pretty severe storms and asked for federal aid. Look, Sarah Huckabee Sanders has been begging the Trump administration, writing letters saying, please send help. We need help. We can't handle this on ourselves. Okay, we can't do it. We really need that federal aid. And Trump responded both times like saying, no, actually you don't. Nope, you don't. You think you need aid, but you really don't, because we're not sending any. Oh, great. Now, Richardson said, you know what, look, yes, we don't have a plan, but that's okay. We're going to defer to the FEMA Review Council. What is that? That is a group created by President Donald Trump, which, of course, is going to review and say, well, whatever the president says, we're going to go with that. The president says you don't need help, then you don't need help. And there you go. Of course. And by the way, he's going to defer to that to avoid introducing any changes that might counter their recommendations, which apparently would mean helping anyone. That would be, again, their recommendation is don't help anybody. So he's not going to counter that. That council, by the way, includes DHS Secretary Kristi Noem, some governors, and other officials, according to the Reuters report. So yeah, I didn't apparently know that there was a hurricane season, and as such has no plan for it. But worse, there will be no plan for it going forward because Donald Trump does not want there to be a plan. It is now every state for itself. Great. Lovely. Awesome. Now, this isn't the first issue with Richardson. And in fact, at his first all-hands meeting back in May, Richardson issued what some employees called a pretty startling warning about, hey, workers, I'm in charge here. I alone speak for FEMA.
I and I alone speak for FEMA, okay? I am the president's representative at FEMA, and I am here to carry out President Trump's intent. And that's why I'm here. So don't get in my way if you're those 20% of the people. I know all the tricks, okay? Obfuscation, delay, undermining. If you're one of those 20% of the people and you think those tactics and techniques are going to help you, they will not, because I will run right over you.
He's going to run right over you, man. Yeah, if you dare try to help people, I'm going to run right over you. Oh, wow. Again, you want to look at the intent, right? Look at their actions. It's pretty clear. The agency has already cut back on hurricane training for local officials because of internal restrictions on travel and on speaking engagements. And since the start of the Trump administration, about a third of FEMA's full-time staff have either resigned or have been fired. So there you go. As a result, of course, staffers that are left at FEMA are pretty anxious, to say the least. In fact, they have grown concerned about the leadership turnover, reduced training, and a lack of strategic direction, all heading into what the NOAA predicts could be one of the most active storm seasons on record, with up to 10 hurricanes expected. 10 of them. Oh, that's not good. That's not good at all. But of course, it's likely by design. Look, I think the president's intent is to withhold any help for the states in return for loyalty. But even though I'm unsure. I'm unsure that that is entirely what he's looking for, because as I mentioned, Missouri and Arkansas have shown that loyalty is not enough. So what do they have to do to get help? Well, what are these states are going to have to do to get a FEMA response if Arkansas can't get it, run by Sarah Huckabee Sanders? What is going to happen there? So understand, though, that currently this is going to be very, very bad. All right. The first hurricane that is going to hit, and there will be one, is going to be an absolute humanitarian nightmare for whatever state gets hit. Maybe Florida, maybe Texas, could be North Carolina. Who knows? And again, that's hurricanes. There's also fires. There's also floods. There's also tornadoes. I mean, there's a lot of natural disasters that are very potential and very, very deadly. And so, yeah, all I can say now is if you're in an area that regularly sees these things, brace for impact. All right. I'm thinking that at this point, all you really have is community and mutual aid. And that's going to be more important than ever. But understand that even with that, and that is significant, right? There is still going to be a lot of destruction, a lot of death, and a lot of help that mutual aid will not be able to help with. And so, and that is, of course, because we have a federal government now that is being run by some of the worst people. Not only are they incredibly incompetent, but they're also cruel. And the cruelty is the point. Oh, boy. Speaking of cruelty, we have got more. Oh, yeah. Republican Senator Joni Ernst recently drew some outrage for her callous response to a constituent during a town hall last week. A woman in the crowd said that, hey, the Medicaid cuts in the Trump Big Beautiful Bill could mean that people will die. She responded, of course, by saying, well, we're all going to die someday, so, come on. Now, the following day, of course, the senator from Iowa decided to release a video that was apparently supposed to be an apology, but really was more of a double down and a way to mock people who are concerned that they're going to lose their health care.
I would like to take this opportunity to sincerely apologize for a statement that I made yesterday at my town hall. I was in the process of answering a question that had been asked by an audience member when a woman who was extremely distraught screamed out from the back corner of the auditorium, "People are going to die." And I made an incorrect assumption that everyone in the auditorium understood that, yes, we are all going to perish from this earth. So I apologize. And I'm really, really glad that I did not have to bring up the subject of the tooth fairy as well. But for those that would like to see eternal and everlasting life, I encourage you to embrace my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ.
Wait, okay, whoa, hold on. Before I get into that, the video doubling was the audio that was my fault. So I'll edit that out for the clips. But anyway, pretty sick, especially in the fact that she filmed it in a graveyard. Yeah, graveyard. Holy crap! But totally on brand for Joni Ernst, of course. This is the party that is totally fine with letting you die from lack of health care. But don't worry, she says. She's got a plan for that. All you got to do is just accept Jesus before you die, and then everything will be working out just fine. I mean, not for you, of course, but for us. It's going to work out great for us. It'll be great because rich people like me get to save all sorts of money while you die. It's great for everybody. You get to meet Jesus. I get to have the Benjamins. That's what this big, beautiful bill is ultimately all about. Okay? Giving billions of dollars in additional tax breaks for the nation's wealthiest people and corporations. Okay, that's what they want to do. By the way, they're the same people who fund Joni Ernst. Okay, now, according to a new analysis released by the Center for American Progress, released back in May, an estimated 6.9 million people will lose coverage by 2034 as a result of congressional Republicans' new work requirements and paperwork requirements. Okay, they're going to drown people in red tape and paperwork, and just in order to basically get people to not sign up or to kick them off. That will lead to more than 21,600 additional avoidable deaths nationally each year. Now, this would already add to what, the 68,000 preventable deaths we already have because we don't have Medicare for all. So, I mean, the numbers are going up. Okay, we're getting close to 100,000 dead each year now, or will, in the wealthiest nation on the planet. That doesn't seem right. So much for being, pro-life. So much for being a Christian nation. Because, look, we've never been a Christian nation because perhaps if we had been, at least people might get health care. Maybe. What I'm saying is that people like Joni Ernst make a mockery of their religion. A lot of the so-called Christians, especially on the right, do the same thing. Okay, look, I've read the Bible. It says to care about poor people. It says to care about immigrants, and it says not to be like rich people. And yet, that's exactly what Republicans are doing. They're punishing poor people. They're kicking out the immigrants, and they are loving rich people. That's what they do. So now, columnist Mike Lofrren, a former Republican staffer in Congress, he actually wrote for Common Dreams last month about this, about the Medicaid cuts. And he nailed it. He basically said that the GOP is showing you that their policy agenda is, we want you to die. Quote, if someone commits a reckless act whose adverse consequences are clearly foreseeable, then for all practical purposes, that person willed the consequences. This principle, who wills the means, wills the ends, is applicable in law, but should also be valid in everyday life. It should particularly apply to the behavior of public officials who wield power over the rest of us. Exactly. Look, Republicans know they're kicking people off of health care, and that these people, many of them, will likely die as a result of that. They don't care. They want it to happen. This is social Darwinism. That's it. Only the strong should survive, they say. And by strong, they mean wealthy, obviously. And look, podcaster Fred Wellman, Midas Touch, also weighed in. He said that the entire episode not only proves that Ernst is emblematic of an increasingly heartless and cruel Republican Party, which I think has been heartless and cruel for a very, very long time now, at least my entire life, but also said that Joni Ernst herself is, quote, a very shitty person. Well, I couldn't Couldn't agree more on that one. Yes, she is. Okay. Wellman said in his video, quote, she thought it was so clever. She owned them libs, didn't she? She's owning them libs. But guess what? She's up for re-election, folks. She's sure she's going to win because it's Iowa. What could go wrong? Let's make sure it goes wrong. Now, look, I appreciate Wellman's response and using this as a call to action to get people involved in the political process. By all means, get out there and try to vote her out. That said, I don't know if it's going to work. I mean, I'm pretty cynical and pessimistic at this point. I mean, because, you know, look around. Okay. So look, again, I don't know if it's going to work. I'm not saying don't try it, though. Definitely. Look, she's already got a challenger, J.D. Scholten. Okay. He announced on Monday that he's going to try to unseat her. Good luck with that. Right. Seriously, though, I do say good luck with that. Here's what he said about this. After her comments over the weekend, I've been thinking about it for a while, but that's when I just said this is unacceptable and you got to jump in. At the end of the day, though, it's not about her. It's not about me. It's about the people of Iowa deserving better. I don't think there's anything worse that you could do than cut Medicaid, cut SNAP benefits for everyday Iowans, just so you can give billionaires a bigger tax cut. That is not Iowa in my mind. Yeah. Look, maybe. I don't know. Iowa, it's not just Iowa, okay? There's a lot of places in this country that haven't exactly impressed me on that, you know, because they supported people like Trump and the Republican Party, which is why we're in this place, you know, to begin with, right? And I'm also not impressed with a lot of the Democratic establishment, which has allowed a lot of this stuff to happen too, by not having a message that, for example, hey, we should support, you know, universal health care. We should get Medicare for all. We should do all that stuff. Democratic establishment has been staunchly against that as well. And I think it is important to point that out. Not Democratic voters. Democratic voters are pretty progressive on that issue, right? And they want universal health care. They want things like Medicare for all. You know, they want universal, like, child care and all that good stuff. And even Republicans want it too. But it's the establishment. The establishment is the problem here. The establishment that is funded by the same billionaires that are getting tax breaks from the Republican bill. So they have control over our political process. Money in politics. We've got to get it out. Right? So that said, again, I'm cynical, yes, but that does not mean that you shouldn't get involved, that you shouldn't do something. I think that voting is one of the easiest things that you can do. And I understand that that's like maybe a controversial statement due to all the voter suppression that is currently going on as well. Yes, I'm quite well aware of that, as you know, because I've been covering it, but I've been talking about voter suppression as well. But again, compared to the other ways that you could get involved, that's one of the easier ones, okay? If you want to do more, there's, of course, mutual aid networks, there's community building, there's organizing your workplace, and hell, there's even jumping in to run for office in your area on a Medicare for All platform, on a progressive platform. There's plenty of ways that you could do to try to get this country to a better place where people like Joni Ernst are not in charge, do not have this power, where we all actually get health care. Because I think being just being alive, we deserve health care. We are living people and need health care, and therefore it should be the government's job to provide it. That's it. Yes, and we should all get it. No exceptions. No exceptions. Okay. Yes, I think we should all get health care. But again, it is the matter, though, and where I'm cynical at is fighting and pushing to try to get this against what is basically nearly impossible odds. That said, as a lefty, I'm pretty used to those odds. So, I mean, and if you are too, then, well, keep on pushing, and we may not see it in our lifetimes, but at some point, we are going to have universal health care. And people like Joni are going to be put out to pasture. This is something. A 52-year-old Milwaukee man charged with robbery and aggravated battery allegedly tried to get his victim, an undocumented immigrant, deported. Prosecutors are saying that Demetric D. Scott had sent a series of letters to state and federal officials threatening to assassinate President Donald Trump, but not using his own name, using the name of the person that he robbed. Again, the letters had the return address and name of the victim in the case, Ramon Morales Reyes, an undocumented immigrant. Now, just a day after receiving the letter, ICE agents arrested Morales Reyes after he dropped his daughter off at school in Milwaukee. Days after his arrest, Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem issued a press release identifying Morales Reyes as sending the letter threatening to kill the president. Now, of course, it didn't happen. He didn't write the letter, but he's still in ICE detention, by the way, and may end up getting deported. But I'm getting ahead of myself here. The family, of course, and Morales Reyes' attorney immediately called BS on that, simply because they point out that Morales Reyes cannot speak or write in English. I mean, it's kind of hard to write a death threat in English if you don't know English. I'm just saying, it's... But anyway, Scott was charged on June 2nd with felony witness intimidation, identity theft, and 2 counts of bail jumping. Now, part of the case against Scott involved listening to calls that he made while in jail, where he basically admitted to this. In fact, here's the transcript of the call saying, this dude is an expletive illegal immigrant, and they just need to pick his ass up, right? This is according to a call recording linked to Scott's jail inmate ID that is cited in the complaint. The judge will agree, because if he gets picked up by ICE, there won't be a jury trial, so they will probably dismiss it that day. That's my plan. Wow. Let me just say this. Yeah. Also, you don't announce your plan on the prison phone. I mean, do you not understand that they listen to that? I mean, come on. Yeah, of course they listen to it. You just admitted your entire plan on the phone to the people who are... Oh, my God. I'm sorry. I can't handle it. It's going to break my brain. All right? Yeah, of course they listen to it. But guess what? Part of it might actually work, because Morales Reyes could be very well deported. Okay? He applied for a U visa. Now, what is a U visa? Basically, it allows undocumented victims and witnesses of certain crimes to stay in the United States for up to 4 years if they help with the investigation. He applied for that visa as a victim and a witness of a robbery Scott is accused of. And according to his lawyer, Kimia Abdulni, his application was delivered to the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services over a month ago, but there's been no receipt. Now, that said, the lawyer's like, don't worry about that. All right, it's gonna take some time. All right, due to the significant backlog of cases, it takes about 2 months, according to the lawyer, to even get a receipt, and at least 7 to 8 years to receive the visa. I mean, understand that is how backed up and inefficient our immigration system is. Okay? And so I guess if you're a right-winger and you're wondering why so many people end up becoming undocumented, even though a lot of them do come over with, visas and all that, it's because the process takes forever. Need more immigration judges, and we need to streamline the system. But of course, Republicans don't want to do that, because then they would lose one of their big policy issues they can run against Democrats on is illegals. Yeah. So, but anyway, in the meantime, Morales Reyes is not protected from deportation. So here's the thing. about this, right? This is a really messed up situation and a great example of how Trump's immigration plan actually promotes crime. Yes, it promotes crime. I know the right wing is, they're all undocumented illegals, they're all criminals. They're all criminals, they're coming over, doing crime. No, this guy's a victim. He's a victim of a crime. But the victim could be deported for being a victim. I mean, it's insane. This is why, by the way, most undocumented victims do not report that they have been victimized by crime. Okay, this creates a situation where it is open season on undocumented groups of undocumented immigrants, especially when you have ICE cracking down on anybody who is suspected to be undocumented. They can just disappear them off the street. I mean, it's again, this actually encourages crime. I mean, it's just horrific. Now, that said, at least threatening to kill the president is not going to be something that Reyes is going to be charged with, because again, Scott had admitted, according to the complaint, on May 30th that he had written everything on the letters and the envelopes to prevent Reyes from testifying against him at trial. The same day, a Milwaukee police officer executed a search warrant for Scott's jail cell, where they found a blue pen and an envelope containing the Milwaukee ICE office's address and a phone number. So, I mean, that's it. As a result of the defendant's actions, Ramon Reyes faces the possibility of removal from this country. The complaint says he did not consent to anyone using his name and address in the sending of letters pretending to be him. Now, Scott has already had quite his own rap sheet here. In fact, at the time of his arrest, he had an open warrant for skipping court in a burglary case. He was charged with breaking into his mother's apartment building with two other men and stealing a ladder and other items. In handwritten letters to the judge, Scott has offered to plead guilty to a misdemeanor battery charge in the robbery case and misdemeanor theft in the burglary case. And now, apparently, he's going to have to deal with these new charges. So, there it is. Once again, though, this is a great example of how undocumented people often are not the perpetrators of crimes. They're actually the victims of crimes as a result of being fearful of their immigration status. And that is something that does not get talked about enough, especially in the conversation involving immigrants and crime. Because again, I've told you over and over again, cited the studies where, undocumented immigrants do far, far less crime, commit far less crime than native-born American citizens. And again, this is just another example of an American citizen apparently using a person's immigration status against them in order to victimize them and then victimize them even more. All right. Let's see. Read a couple of super chats here. Rachel Atwood says, NFKRZ's channel debunks Russian propaganda on YouTube. Interesting. There you go. And look, chances are, I think a lot of us have had to debunk Russian propaganda now and then. So, yeah. Jedi Protector with a very kind super chat as well, saying, Joni will probably freeze in the 7th layer of hell. Well, I don't know. Does Iowa gets cold. But yeah. All right. I didn't even know that there was people this dumb. I've been in jail. Don't ask. Won't. And every call warns you it is being recorded. I know how. Drives me crazy. V-Man 29397 with a very kind $10 super chat says FEMA reminds me of in Puerto Rico, the MAGA aligned governor's Pickford environmental secretary said on TV, there's no degree for the job, only to be corrected by the interviewer. They are so, these right wingers are so like, I don't know, great examples of weaponized ignorance. All right, there's so much of that. They're not. I know they're not the best people. It turns out. I know. The what? No. How did you? I don't know. How are you so stupid and are able to get into these positions of power? How does that happen? No idea. So there you go. And there you go. All right. So that's all the stories that I have for you today. Thank you for watching the show. Thank you for the comments. Thank you for the super chats. And thank you to those who have signed up to become members and support independent progressive media. I really, really appreciate you all. Thank you. Let's see. Any announcements? Anything? Thinking before I sign off here. I don't think I have any of that. So with that said, tune in for the show tomorrow, same time, same place. I'm sure we're going to have more disastrous stories to talk about, as usual, with the fire hose of terrible news, as always, from this administration, from this criminal regime. With that said, thank you all for tuning in. Please sign up, like and share the video for one. Sign up if you can to become a member, to become a patron, patreon.com/jeffwaldorf, and hit the join button below if you want to support independent progressive media. Love you all. Make sure to take care of each other, your communities, your families, your friends, your workplaces. Organize them if you can, and do whatever you can to fight back in a legal way, of course, until they try to take that away. But do all you can to support each other in this terrible time. And if we do, we will make it through on the other side. So thank you all. Love you. And remember, change begins with you. Good night, everybody. We'll see you later.